All right, everyone, just stop and take a look at this good boy. I mean, seriously, you can pet him and everything. Far Cry 6, immediately a contender for Game of the Year. But wait, there's more. Look at this dude. So much teeth. Oh man, and you can feed him too. And you can pet him. Okay, this toothy boy seals his fate. 13 out of 10 Game of the Year. Just kidding. Hey there, everyone. Shar Mr. Fees here with M Digital Gaming, and we're taking a look at Far Cry 6. And before we get started, I just want to ask if you guys are interested, just taking a break and from the Days Gone gameplay, and I just wanted to check in and just basically talk about Far Cry 6. As you guys know, Far Cry is one of the very first series that I've covered on this gaming channel. I've been wanting to go back and play some of the games for you guys, probably doing a playthrough like you guys have asked for me to do with Days Gone. Nevertheless, we're going to be taking a look at Far Cry 6. I know I've said that a dozen times already, but let's get started. So last year we got our first look at Far Cry 6, and it was more of a dramatic cinematic trailer, some screenshots here and there, and basic information about the game. And however, today, finally get to see some juicy gameplay and learn more about what the massive game has installed for us. And well, there's a lot to take a look through with Far Cry 6. Let's get started. So this time around, it's set in a tropical nation of Yara, an island deep in the heart of the Caribbean. It's not so loosely based off of Cuba. It's quite different from Hope Country from Far Cry 5. If you guys remember, it was the fictional region of Montana from Far Cry 5. It's also a return to form tropical settings according to Ubisoft. And honestly, the last time we saw it was Far Cry 3, and if we're going back further, Far Cry 2. Which is one of my favorite Far Cry games, if I do say so myself. It's just what Ubisoft totes it as to be is just their most ambitious world yet, and they want you to feel like you're really exploring an entire country with jungles, beaches, villages, towns, swamps. Of course, the capital city, the game's first built is like the game's first built-up urban environment, and you can, of course, expect plenty of wildlife to this. And the game you play in the game, you're basically playing as the main protagonist. Your name is Danny Rojas, a guerrilla fighter born in the country's capital city of Esperanza. You customize Danny at the beginning of the game with two different character models available both in male or female variants, and their own voice have their own voice acting, and you're part of a revolutionary force against the ruler and dictator Anton Castillo. Played by none other than Giancarlo Esposito, and that guy. If you don't know already, he's the guy who's plays Gus on Breaking Bad fame. He's in The Mandalorian. He's in The Boys. He's in a bunch of TV shows. Just such an amazing talent, and the cast scenes do look fantastic, and as fantastic if I do say so myself. And it seems to be all in third person as opposed to the first person that we've gotten used to with Far Cry 3. 5, New Dawn, and even in Primal. But going back to the story, Anton has been in power for 50 years, and the island has been cut off from the world after a violent revolution. And this plays into the story of the game because the country itself is isolated and frozen in time. And this is shown in the architecture, the weaponry, the vehicles around the place. And Anton's determined to return Yara back to its former glory, but it's doing so. He's calmed down, and most of the freedoms of the people are just basically non-existent. We're just talking about full-on imposing dictatorship, brutal social reforms, everything, you name it. And that pretty much sparks the revolution. And it's not the first time the revolution has occurred, but this is the second time. And you get to meet up with some of your friends, or Guns for Hire and Pause for Hire returns in this game, as you guys can see. One of the Guns for Hires is Clara Garcia, your friend, and a fellow libertarian and revolutionary fighter. And you go back against Anton Castillo. She's the main protagonist, and you can work with and then with her mentor, Juan Cortez. Also happens to be a guerrilla master inventing, provided you'll use a lot of weapons. And speaking of which, let's talk about the guns. First of all, Far Cry 6 has the biggest roster weapons in any Far Cry game, with 49 military grade weapons. Now, because of the era of the country Yara is being lost to time, you can expect modern weapons, but also older generation guns from the previous revolution that I mentioned earlier. LMG, sniper rifles, assault rifles, you can name it. Whereas also armor piercing rounds that we will basically help kill enemies who are wearing helmets, and an explosive arrow to your compound bow. Core of the game is just a system called Resolver. This applies to other parts of the game, but it's also apparent that it comes with weapons that resolve. There is a life philosophy from Cuba, which means to solve is to use, and using resourcefulness and creativity that gets done. And because the island has been cut off for decades, people have just become used to this mindset. So you can use motorcycle engines to car mufflers, you name it, to you basically create weapons and so on and so forth. Of course, disposable throwing knives make a return, and of course you can use a baseball in place to distract your enemies and whatnot. Of course, this time around, a few gadgets are interesting to look at, and you can distract enemies and basically go in. It's just the usual open world formula with a little twist of crafting. Now, this time around, you can customize your gear and perks, but they're all tied directly to what the change in gear you wear. Basically, headgear, chest, hands, legs, feet. By changing up different pieces of gear, you'll find ways to complement and play to your play style. An example, marksman goggles will improve headshot damage, being incredibly useful. And if you want to be a sniper at a long distance or for accurate, and a vests and pads and shoes can give you stuff like improved stealth and mobility, and gloves can improve accuracy with throwing knives. And there's a lot of customization in this game. You can also get something called a Supremo backpack. That'll show up in the gameplay pretty much soon, but something new to this series is the philosophy of the backpacks can come with special abilities, like an exterminator pack, which is insane, like holding a whole entire artillery barrage on your back, and you can have a unique attack. And no one loves destruction more than I do. And nevertheless, thankfully you can actually just get this backpack rolling. And one thing that does returns is the guns for hire system that I mentioned earlier, and this time they're called amigos, or pause for hire, if you remember from Far Cry 5. And you already saw the little wiener dog, the good boy in a little wheelchair. His name is called Chorizo, and he's one of the main pause for hire. But you can also get a gator, and his name is called his name is, get this, Guapo. And the water, he's really useful. You can use him for stealth takedowns, being an aquatic animal and all. And basically, it's just insane and hilarious setting a crocodile on unsuspecting enemies. So you got your guns, you got your pet crocodile, but you're gonna need some wheels. And in Far Cry 6, you can travel by land, sea, and air, or there could be a bit more tricky to begin with, but they're very own to their very own right. You can customize them as well, and turns and plows and countermeasures, just you name it. You can do so much in this game so far. And honestly, it's just Far Cry at its best. It looks like Far Cry at its best, in my opinion. I mean, I've been waiting for Far Cry, another Far Cry game. I'm a really big fan of the series, nevertheless to say. But I don't want to risk spoiling anymore. But if you guys are interested, definitely do let me know in the comments below as we wrap it up here. It does seem to be that they're telling a pretty serious and dark story this time around. We're not falling off from the continuation of what Far Cry 5 did with Far Cry New Dawn, which was a direct sequel to Far Cry 5. So you had to have played 5 and then played played New Dawn, and then you move on. But it looks like we're just going either back in time, or we're moving on to a totally different storyline this time. And I'm really interested to hear from what you guys have to say down in the comments below. What do you feel so far now that we've seen some gameplay, learned about some more of it? If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe if you're new around here, and for more Far Cry and other video game related content. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Nevertheless, before I go, just want to thank you guys for tuning in this far. And I'm not used to doing this type of format video, but I want to know from you guys what you think. But I'm just going to keep rambling on. Nevertheless, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace.